What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome back to episode number 29 of Park to Prem here with Nottingham Forest. Today we have the conclusion of season number 10. If you missed yesterday's episode, it was against Chelsea. It was an FA Cup semi-final. Today we've got the last game of the season, and then following on from that, we're going to go into our traditional end of season recap and round up. Before we get into that though, I think it's worth just noting that we've appeared on the favourite personnel alongside Adrian Smith. Now, we've still got quite a long way to go to climb ourselves up the ladder, but over the course of the last, 4 years we've been at Nottingham Forest, we've made a little bit of a name for ourselves. We've won a little bit of silverware. Hopefully, of course, we're going to be winning a little bit more today because the final game of the season is going to be the FA Cup against Liverpool. Now, just looking at the league, we ended up wrapping up the season finishing in 4th. There were 4 games left of the season when I left you last time. There was a small chance that it would go down to the wire. Ultimately, despite us not having a very good end to the season, Tottenham and Liverpool, who were really the two teams breathing down our necks, they also slipped up. They had a few games in hand, which I think just kind of caught up with them. The fixture congestion got pretty bad. And as a result of that, despite only winning 2 of our last 4 games of the league season, it was enough to see us get a Champions League spot. So, yeah, we have that to look forward to next season, which is always exciting. Anyway, you can see here we beat Sheffield United 4-1. A good result here. Piotr getting on the score sheet. And whilst he would get on the score sheet in the next game against Arsenal, it wasn't enough. We lost 3-2 at the Emirates. Disappointing this one. A late goal for them, the difference maker. The silver lining, if there was one. Piotr getting his 8th and 7th goals of the season in this game. He's been very, very good this year. I feel like if a centre-back gets close to 10 goals for a season, they've had a pretty blooming good season as far as centre-backs go. Unfortunately, we didn't have a great game defensively, actually, against Manchester United. You can see here, they beat us 2-1. And with that result, there was a small chance that it might result in things going down to the wire. But actually, as things played out, them beating us destined us to a 4th place finish. Unfortunately, Adrian Smith's goal was not enough. And well, to end the season, we beat West Brom 1-0. Was not a convincing performance, but great to see Steve Secker getting his first goal since his return from injury. He has slowly been building up match sharpness, and well, for today's game, he's ready and raring to go. But anyway, just to look at the league table and how things finished, we were 4 points ahead of Wolverhampton Wanderers in the end, 1 point behind Manchester United, and Chelsea did win the league on the final day of the season. So, yeah, the team that we dispatched off last episode, who in the league have been pretty flawless, they won everything. Despite the fact we beat them twice in cup competitions, they were just better than us in the league over the course of the year, weren't they, Chelsea? But yeah, an exciting game for us here, of course, a chance for our second bit of silverware this season in the FA Cup. Going into this competition, the expectation was to reach the 5th round. Now that we're in this position, taking on a team who did finish 7th in the league in Liverpool, I want to see us go out there and get a good little result against them. And well, there is not really much dilly-dallying to be done today. We are going to get straight into this match. In terms of team news, it's a full strength 11. Just a little bit of interesting news. Smith has been dropped from England and Ricketts has been called up. Of course, 2030 is a year of major international competition. They're going to be playing in the World Cup England here in a group with Iran and Panama, which you would expect them to get through. And well, if we just look at the preliminary squad, Owen Ricketts, the only Nottingham Forest player to feature in the England squad. A little bit disappointing, I suppose, for Lind and Smith, who made their debuts just a few months ago, but a testament to how good our midfield is in terms of strength in depth. And you know what, Ricketts, we signed him for £32 million. He's got 12 assists this year. He's done really blooming well. I really hope he can make the final cut for the England squad, although that does feel perhaps a little unrealistic at this moment in time. Anyway, the rest of the team is ready and raring to go. There's not much, as I said, in the way of rotation. Seca's back in the team. He's slowly got back to match fitness. You may notice the morale across the squad. It's a little bit orange, isn't it? It's not very great, the morale. That isn't because of our recent league form. That is because I botched a team meeting before the cup final. So that is entirely on me. I'm hoping, however, despite our, questionable morale, on the pitch, we're going to be able to answer all the questions that Liverpool have for us. And, last episode, the semi-final, I feel like I was a bit nervous. I was a bit excited. The commentary that I did, it was on edge. So today, I'm trying to come into this nice and relaxed. Hopefully, we can make things work. We have our best 11. Doesn't get better than the team that we can field. Just looking at their team, they've got Eastham, their star striker up top. They've got João Felix out on the left. It's a very good Liverpool team. It's little bit younger perhaps than the likes of Inter and Chelsea, but plenty of familiar wonder kids in their starting 11. And, well, when we've met Liverpool this year, it's not been a happy hunting ground compared to previous years. Our first year in the Premier League, we beat them, you may remember. Hopefully we can replicate that here as the ball's whipped in by Erk to Seka, and within the first minute, we go a goal ahead. And I suppose if you were to look at the league table, you would expect us to beat Liverpool here. They finished 3 places behind us, but of course, Liverpool, a very, very good team. And well, we need to be at our best, and this early start is what we wanted. Steve Seka, 2 goals in 2 for him. Welcome back, Stevie boy. Yeah, great to see him getting in on the score sheet. You may have noticed that AMLO was not appearing on the score sheet at the end of the season. He actually ended up not winning the Golden Boot award, the German. Bit of a cooling off of form late on this year as well. They score. What a finish by Llorente too. 3 minutes gone, it's 1-1. I don't think this is going to be a quiet cup final by any means. Llorente with goal number 16. I thought there might be a hint of offside here. But yeah, he just kind of moves into the channel here. I think I want to blame Calafiori, but he's got to worry about the man in the wide area. In the end, it's just some really nice attacking movement and a great ball through. The finish, whilst not into the corners, was just kind of smashed home as well. Anyway, 10 minutes gone. We've had 2 shots on target. They've both ended up hitting the back of the net. Hopefully there's a few more here, namely in our favour. Anyway, Calafiori, big throw forward. Steve Seka is under it. He gets his header to it, but the accuracy, it was lacking compared to the first goal we scored off his head. That one slightly more wayward for us. Anyway, there's now a set piece in the wide area here for Liverpool. They're going to be committing men forward to the attack. João Felix blocked away by Regina, which is huge for us. Could we hit them on the break? I can't help but feel like that blocked shot was the highlight, and indeed it was. I was about to make a change and make some shouts, but we've got a corner here that's going to be cleared away to Seka. Great to see Seka back in the team, by the way. He's slotted in like he was never gone. Smith tries to find a way through the middle, but it's congested there at the edge of the box, and ultimately Liverpool get it clear. But well, we win the ball back again in midfield. It's going to be Smith to Ricketts to Regina. The right back with time and space ahead of him. AMLO's there. Should score it. Does score it. Goal number 27 for the number 23. It's 2-1. We've only played 23 minutes, everyone. It is all action here in this cup final. Absolutely no messing around whatsoever. The ball here by Regina, by the way, superb. Just gets the through ball through, weighted perfectly. AMLO slots it away into the bottom corner. And we're back in the lead. I got to be honest with you, though. There's going to be more goals in this one. You can feel it. I don't think this is a game that is going to be settled until very late on. At least the way things are going early on suggests that it's got goals still in it, everyone. Anyway, they switch the ball over Liverpool quite nicely. Of course, we do defend fairly narrowly, and they are looking to punish us on the overlaps as Dodo brings it forward. It's now with Douglas Willian. Back to Dodo, who tries to get it in. Smith with one big tackle, can't get a second in. Llorente Eastham. And Andy scores goal number 31 for the year. Wow, okay. It feels like whenever we score, they score within a minute. Which, on the one hand, is a bit annoying. On the other hand, it means that we're having an absolutely fantastic game here. Dodo tackled there, and you thought that might have just been it. But no, whipped in Llorente. Goal scorer turned assister. And Eastham slots it away. The kind of main striker for Liverpool, a kind of regular of England kind of national team action up front for us, or up front for them rather. We've got to be aware that he's a threat. As Llorente wins the ball here, bit nervy, bit scary. That's how I feel about the early stages here. Steve Seka though, down the right hand side, Stevie boy. Could we respond immediately? Regina tries to pick out AMLO. Not a good ball forward, but we'll press from the front, try and force a turnover in possession perhaps. Unfortunately, it's Llorente again on this near side, bringing the ball forward. Dodo now with it, inside to Douglas Willian, tries to switch it. Seka, he might be offside here, AMLO. Is he offside? I don't think he is. He's taken it around the keeper, and I just stopped. The defence stopped too. I think they thought it was offside. But AMLO has timed his run to perfection. The ball by Seka as well. I think it was Seka who played the ball here. This pass here is silly. He's timed his run to perfection, and then the finish, he just waddles round the keeper. Like he's not even there. Don't know why I've gone with the adjective waddles. I guess that's a verb, isn't it? He's waddled round the keeper. He's like a duck, everyone. He's singing in the rain. It might be a bit wet and damp out on the pitch, but it's 3-2 here. We've had 5 shots on target and they've all ended up going in so far. As I say that, Liverpool ruined the trend. And there could be another goal before half-time. A highlight begins. Navio trying to pick out Seka. Ricketts picks it up. Regina, space on the overlap here for him to get a ball into the box. Goes to Seka. Now with Ricketts. He's going to be dispossessed and maybe a chance at a counter-attack. Although, with Liverpool just playing with Easton up front, he looks a little isolated when they do lump the ball forward quickly. I think much like us, they benefit from maybe slightly more gradually building the ball up the pitch. As they have a great chance here. João Felix. It's 3-3, everyone, and it's not even half-time. I mean, the FA Cup final, this is one for the ages. And I'm a bit annoyed because they've scored, but on the flip side, it's a really, really nice goal. Willian to Llorente, wearing the number 14, to De Vaio. First time to João Felix, who strokes it into the bottom corner. I mean, the neutrals are loving it. I don't know how to feel as a manager involved in this absolutely mad match. I think I'm going to get shouty. I'm far from pleased. I'm not even going to say anything else. I'm just going to get shouty and walk out early. None of you get any individual treatment. Anyway, is the second half going to continue like the first? I feel like usually in Football Manager, when there's goals in the first, it slows down. But who knows? Liverpool yet to go ahead in this game, but they are bringing the ball forward here. João Felix, space in the wide area, goes to Pelter Pinot, the Frenchman. I'm assuming he's French. He's got it in. It's cleared away. Regina, only as far as Nico. João Felix, Peltier Pinot with the ball again. Do not foul him. Get it away now. Big ball lumped forward. Amlo, all on his lonesome, is going to need to hold up the play, and he does so really well. Gives it to Irk. Lots of space ahead of him. Can he finish it? Yes, he can. This has been a masterclass of finishing, and I don't quite know how to convey how I feel right now, because I'm very conflicted. We're putting on a clinic. The hold-up play by Amlo there is superb. Pulls the man across. It gives Irk space to run into. But that is a difficult finish for the youngster. And well, he's broken into the Turkish national team this year. He started scoring goals for them as well. If he can score goals for us, at club level, I'll be very happy. I mean, 9 goals this year is not a bad total, but I feel like he's the kind of player who could get double figures kind of year on year. So, it's 4-3. There's 20 minutes left. I don't really know what to change here. A Sun Sao on a booking scares me. So, you know what? We'll bring in Juanjo Hernandez, who can slot in there. Calafiori as well is on a booking, as is Luis Navio. Now, Luis Navio, he's got a bit of a reputation, hasn't he? Right, Luis, just ease off tackles, mate. And same for you, Calafiori. I don't want to make a change at the back, because whilst I could bring in Hayden Roberts, I do feel like it lowers our overall quality. Smith and Ricketts have been a bit quiet in the midfield today, so I think we'll go with a double change. I'm going to bring in Lind, and I'm going to bring in Dr. Medj. I feel like Dr. Medj is a bit of an unsung hero. He comes in, often on off the bench to be fair, and does the dirty work for us. And while Lind, I've got high hopes for this guy. He's developed a lot. He's broken into the England team. Can he help us steady the ship? Because I feel like the reason we're conceding so many is just losing a little bit of a battle in midfield. Hoping some fresh legs in that area of the pitch are going to help us out. And while speaking of the Devils, they're both there, winning the players. Well, the ball is lost. And Llorente to bring it forward. We know what he can do. He's tried to pick out De Vaio. Toby, though, reads it well. And of course, we have Toby to thank. He was man of the match in the semi-final against Chelsea. He's the reason that we are here right now. And while Liverpool are pressing so high up the pitch, not letting Toby have a chance to kick it out, it feels like. As Dodo plays it to Llorente. Options in the middle. De Vaio's there. Hits the woodwork. Calafiori almost boots it into his own goal. In the end, it goes out for a corner. I think I can breathe a sigh of relief. Although, it might not be over yet. Ravella. Seka heads it away. It's a good defensive header as well. Gives us a little bit of a chance to regroup at the back. And whilst the action has slowed down in terms of goals in this second half, it is still very much on edge. They are throwing men forward here. There is 5 minutes left. I am going to just tell the lads with 4 minutes left. Just time waste. I'll take 4-3 here. There's 3 minutes left. We have a chance. It's a highlight as the throw-in falls straight our way. And while maybe we can break it. Irk bringing the ball forward. Amlo is ahead. He's fouled off the ball. Irk on his lonesome goes all the way and just can't quite score it. I mean, is the defender going to get booked for hacking down Amlo there? He should do. And, well, breathe a sigh of relief. Liverpool, they relented towards the end of that game. They didn't create too much going forward. And we returned to Wembley with another win. Now, as a manager who lost 3 playoff finals at Wembley in the early years of Park to Prem, to do the domestic cup double this year is very, very nice. We're going to hoist that trophy aloft. We absolutely deserve it. I'm wearing my iconic green suit. I don't know why we don't have red confetti, given the fact we are Nottingham Forest, but we'll savour the confetti that matches our team colours. And, well, I'm getting a little bit of deja vu, everyone. We've had some really tough cup runs. Also, Toby, completely unnecessary cartwheel. It's the Toby cartwheel. He loves it. But yeah, you think about our cup runs. EFL Cup, we beat Man City in the semi-final and Chelsea in the final. FA Cup, we've beaten Chelsea in the semi-final, Liverpool in the final. We feel like a team that just turn up on the big stages, and whilst, we've not won any of these games particularly comfortably, I guess the Chelsea semi-final was a 3-0 in the end, but the actual performance wasn't so comfortable. I have to be really, really happy with that. We celebrate a double, an FA Cup win as well, which, if I'm not mistaken, is something that Clough never did whilst manager of Forest. We do the double, and I have to be very, very happy with that. FA Cup win, Carabao Cup win. We bring success, and it's the club's 3rd FA Cup win in their history. Peter Shaq could do with a little bit of a rest. Well, you know what? He's got the whole summer to relax. Amlo, man of the match. Give that man a coconut. Give him some praise. 2 goals, 1 assist. And off the back of that, Liverpool have sacked Gallardo. Why am I sat thinking, could I take the Liverpool job? Why has that popped into my head as an idea? Would I want the Liverpool job? Sorry, they were predicted to finish 2nd. I mean, it would be foolish, wouldn't it? With the team that we've got, would it be foolish? I mean, I don't think I want the Liverpool job, but now it's here, I am wondering. I don't know. Let me know. Should I take the Liverpool job? Like, if it came up, well, I was about to say, if it came up, it's come up, everyone. I don't think I want it. But I might go for the interview and just see what I have to say. I feel like we'd probably get it as well if we applied. As you can see here, Steven Gerrard is currently favourite for the job, whilst also leading the sack race. So, make of that what you will. His Leicester team have not been doing particularly well this season. But anyway, I'm not going to think about the Liverpool opportunity too much here. Instead, we're going to have a look at the end of season roundup, which hopefully, if Football Manager is working as I think it should, will just happen now. And indeed it does. Look at that. Some trophies on the show as well. On show as well. Maybe this is a TV show. FA Cup, Carabao Cup. Oh, I think, you know what? You look at what we did this year, whilst there is disappointment for sure about the Europa League. I can't deny that. I am disappointed by the Europa League performance. Albeit, getting knocked out against Inter wasn't really too embarrassing. They're a really good team. What I would say is, everywhere else, I think we competed as well as I thought we could. You can see here, the newer rivals to the club. Toby, the big one. He also won signing of the season. £11.5 million for Hertha Berlin's goalkeeper. And you know what? He's not a player with loads of yellow attributes everywhere when you look at his goalkeeping and his mentals and stuff. But there are so many 15s there. He's just a really, really solid defender and goalkeeper. And ultimately, a 7.13 average rating is really blooming good for a goalkeeper. You can see here, of course, Calafiori joined us, played 19 games after January. I feel like he did a pretty good job in the end, actually, of filling the boots of Malang Sarr. That was always going to be a really tough player to replace, but he more than did the job there. Elsewhere, of course, we brought in a few younger players who have gone out on loan and performed. Juanjo Hernandez, of course, joined us as well from Real Madrid in January. He actually played, a fair few games for us. 9 appearances as a starter, 4 on off the bench. His average rating wasn't that good, but actually he chipped in with some goals and some assists. Lind this year, perhaps the disappointment, but at 19 years old, there wasn't too much pressure on him to perform this year. He's broken into the England national team. I'm quietly confident of him being a pretty good player for us for many years to come. And another player who there's maybe some question marks over is Sun Sao. I am beginning to think that the deep line playmaker just within our system just doesn't get good average ratings in Football Manager because of how it works. I don't feel like he is massively responsible for any shortcomings this year. I actually think he did a really good job at deep line playmaker. And of course, a whole host of other youngsters signed this year, and that was kind of a trend this season. This season was not about signing a load of first team players. It was about adding some depth, signing some players for the future, and just giving us a platform to improve. Of course, in terms of transfers out, the big one really was Malang Sarr in January for £44 million. Since his departure, he's made 3 starts and 4 sub-appearances. Considering he's 31, I'm beginning to think that we've done pretty well there. So maybe I'm just deluded, but I feel like that sale kind of worked out in our favour. Of course, a load of other players departed. Distinct lack of green on their average ratings following their moves, so maybe we made the right decisions to sell many of them. Anyway, you can see here, looking at cup competitions, the board were delighted with how we did in the league. Qualifying for the Champions League was an aim that I had this year, as well as trying to compete a bit more in cup competitions. And whilst, you know what, the Europa League, bit of a disappointment. We lose to Inter, who... Actually, are Inter still in the cup? Are they still in the Europa League? No, they lost in the semi-final to Napoli. But if we just look at the overview here, with 1 game left of the season, they probably are going to win Serie A. So to get knocked out to them, it's not the worst performance necessarily in the world. But it's something that I'll hope we can kick on with. Of course, going into the Champions League, we're going to be a lower seed. So we are going to get a tougher group. Whether or not we can get through it, I suppose, remains to be seen. FA Cup, we ended up winning it. Really good performances. Knocked out Tottenham, knocked out Chelsea, knocked out Liverpool. Some pretty tricky games in there. Burnley as well, more Premier League opposition. In terms of the Carabao Cup, knocked out Tottenham, knocked out Arsenal, City and Chelsea. I don't feel like we had easy cup runs this year. Even the lesser teams were kind of higher-end championship clubs. But obviously, to win 2 of the kind of, domestic cups within England, a really, really good achievement. You can see here, Regina's goal actually against Chelsea last episode won Goal of the Year. And I said at the time I thought it was one of my favourite goals. So I'm really happy to see that win that award. Biggest win was a 6-0 win against LASK and a match to remember, the win against Saint Etienne. Our first away win in Europe upon our return is really nice. Anyway, club reputation has not risen, which I thought it might do given our recent success. Actually, I lie. Previously it was national, now it's continental, but the stars have remained the same. You can see here, overall income rose quite significantly. Going into the Champions League, it is going to rise that little bit more. And hopefully, as we now start to feature in Europe regularly, start to win some silverware, maybe even challenge for a Premier League title, that reputation is going to rise. You can see how, in terms of how we lined up, we did rotate the team a fair amount this year, but this was the kind of largely settled 11. Of course, Seka didn't play as much as I wanted to out on the right-hand side. Damani Grimes and Navio were quite interchangeable, although towards the end of the year, Damani Grimes found himself on the bench more and more. And of course, at left-back, Malang Sarr left us, but we found a replacement, and the replacement did better than Malang Sarr was doing in the same spot. So ultimately, I'm pretty happy with how it worked out for us. In terms of player awards, Fans Player of the Season has gone to Piotr. Young Player of the Season has gone to Piotr. It's kind of easy to forget that he's only 21 years old, considering he's been at the club as long as he has. Signing of the Year went to Toby in goal. He was a real difference maker for us this year. Last year we had Stokes in goal. He didn't wow me. He didn't woo me. It was a position that I marked as, somewhere where we needed to improve things. And we did do that. And Toby across the season, 25 clean sheets. That is a new club record, which is absolutely superb to see. Anyway, you can see here our hard work paid off on and off the pitch, and such a feat didn't go unrewarded at the end of season awards ceremony. 2 trophies in a year. I'll more than happily take that for our second Premier League season. We owe everything to our fantastic start to the season. And then apparently it's important to get off to a good start, but it rings true ever for Forest. I thought it was going to be a twist there. Thought it was going to be like, it's important to start the season well, but they did well all year. No, apparently the pundits just think, well, they started well, so they finished 4th because of it. Hey, look, we'll take 4th. That was an aim this year. And we've done it. And we've set a record for FA Cup goals as well. The previous record set by Liverpool at 20 we now have 21, which isn't too bad at all. You can see here Malang Sarr is one of 3 players to enter the overall best 11. Of course, he is now a traitor. He's gone to Manchester United and just not done a great deal for them, considering the money that they paid. Bit disappointing to see him enter the best 11. Elsewhere, Amlo and Seka also entering in, which is really great to be able to say. And if we look at the season review, I mean, you've seen it. It was a memorable season. Look at the fireworks. Look at the trophies. Oh, we're having a great time, everyone. So, aims for next year: Premier League top half finish, Champions League first knockout round. I actually think the first knockout round is going to be pretty difficult, but I definitely feel like Champions League football year on year is what I want to be aiming for now. I can tell the players what I expect for next season. I think I'm just going to tell them top half again, because that matches the board expectations, and usually that's the safer thing to do. And then for the players, I'm going to tell them we're going to try and reach the knockouts of the Champions League. And in terms of promises, I'm going to give opportunities to more younger players, which players love. For some reason, that is just a promise that you can do, and they'll always react well to it, which is pretty nice. Anyway, in terms of the end of season squad stuff, you can see they now go on holiday to July. Where do we want to go on vacation? We can go to Ireland, China, the USA, Hong Kong, or Singapore. Let's go to the US of A. I don't think we've been to the USA yet, and we've got Mighton in the team. Also, new signing alert. Ring the alert alarm. This guy is a player who I've had my eye on. His contract expires at the end of the year. His name's Dom Harrison, playing for Manchester United, England under-19 goalkeeper. He's got okay current ability, but because he's consistent and because he's got a lot of potential and he's available for 300k, just decided to take a little bit of a punt on him. He doesn't turn 20 for almost 9 months now. And signing for the future, although that is the only bit of transfer business I've actually even started doing right now ahead of the new season. If you were wondering about transfer budgets, because of course they have been set with our Champions League qualifications secured, our wage budget sits at 1.8 million, which we are currently under. We've got £13 million in transfer budget, £40 million in the bank as well. All in all, nothing really to worry about on the financial front. In terms of the team itself, this is where things get a little bit interesting, because I don't actually think that we need to sign anyone. And I always say this and I always end up signing players, but I think in terms of our midfield, I really like Ricketts and Smith. I talked about it a lot earlier on this year. They're kind of unsung heroes. Smith got 10 assists this year playing centre mid. Ricketts has got 15 assists playing centre mid. They've actually, in this season, both kicked on a lot. Of course, they've now played together for 2 seasons, back to back as first choice centre mids. And between the two of them, and Lind and Medj that we've got, I really like our midfield setup. I guess the big question is about Asun Sao, who, you know what, he didn't have the best average rating, but he played a hell of a lot of football for us this year and was pretty reliable on the whole. There is a small part of me that wonders, given the fact he has struggled with his ratings, maybe pushing him forward to play kind of in the middle of the kind of 2 of the centre mids. Maybe we go for something more like this, kind of a 4-5-1, or I guess it is still a 4-3-3, just without the defensive anchor in the midfield. Or maybe we change up the roles a little bit. Maybe, I try and find a more out-and-out defensive midfielder. What I would say is I really like having the playmaker sit as kind of a linking piece between the centre mids and the centre backs. So I don't really see me changing the role. I feel like the most likely change, to be honest, is just to push them forward. The other interesting thing with that possibility is the fact that David Lind, as a deep line playmaker, is really, really good. You can see here, highlighted as a deep line playmaker on support. He ticks all the boxes. As a deep line playmaker on defend, lacks perhaps a little bit defensively. The only issue with training him really and playing him as a deep line playmaker is his physicals are really well rounded, and at 19 years old there's still going to be room for them to grow. It almost feels like a waste for him to play such a static role but in a team when he does have a little bit of athletic ability. That said, I suppose like 12 acceleration, 14 pace, it's not anything to write home about, especially when you look at how well suited he is to just playing a deep line playmaker role in the team. The only question mark I'd really have is, how would he do defensively? I mean, this year he's come in and he's played as a Mazzala very frequently, which is a role that he can play to a really good level. He can also play as a box-to-box midfielder, although his deficiencies in terms of defensively and a little bit in terms of how good his finishing is and his aggression. You know, they do come under a little more scrutiny when he plays the box-to-box midfielder role. But no, midfield-wise, I think we're good. I just want to evaluate how we could possibly tweak the system. Maybe it's a case of switching the deep line playmaker up. Of course, Lind can't play defensive centre mid, so do I want to train him in a whole new position? Or maybe, does it make sense to go to the 4-2-3-1? I know it's a little bit, I don't want to say it's boring, but, you know, it's a formation that's not too exotic. I say that like this is an exotic formation. Let's be frank, it's absolutely not. But I don't know, as we now climb up, obviously, and start to become a more established team, teams are going to be more defensive against us. And this system here with the defensive midfielder was kind of set up when we were an underdog, when we were going to be taking on teams where we're not expected to, you know, necessarily beat them. I certainly want to look to play the 4-2-3-1 and more this kind of coming year, especially against weaker opposition. I want us to go out there and, you know, demolish teams where possible. If that is going to be the case, maybe that resolves the issues, because Lind could just play as the deep line playmaker on defend, could even change it to be on support. Might just be a little bit worried about how exposed we are at the back then, but it's something certainly up for consideration. I mean, in terms of the attacking third, I'm pretty happy with things. Amlo's been great this year, 28 goals in all competitions. Steve Secker, of course, missed so much football through injury, which was a real shame. Good to have him come back at the end of the year and pop up with a few goals, though. Erk this year, I think, would be my most improved player. He has improved a hell of a lot over the course of his time at the club, considering he joined us about 2 years ago now. Just consistent improvement across the board. If he could maintain that level of development, which might be asking a little bit, I really feel like he can be a superstar in this team. I want him to be kind of our Mane or our Salah, a player who sits in the wide area and consistently gets double-figure goals for the year, whilst also being a real creative force within the team. Which, make no mistake, with 15 assists this season, Erk has definitely been, you know, a really creative player for us who produces a hell of a lot. Obviously, in terms of squad depth, we've got players like Marcelo, who've got a few opportunities here and there, you know, who can come in. I talked earlier this year about not wanting him to become my Gabriel Jesus, but he kind of has become that, just because, well, he's not quite a first-team quality just yet. I mean, important to remember. He's only 20, and I do really like him as a plan B because of just how good he is in the air. Elsewhere, players like Brewster, I might be more willing to let go over this summer. Just didn't end up playing him much at all. A couple of games in the Europa League when we rotated things around for him. Similar with Alex Mighton. Of course, the one thing I have got to be a little wary of is our homegrown situation. If we look at things right now, we've got 6 players homegrown at club, which is not a shortage by any means, and a fair few players trained in nation. But we have got a little bit of a gap here where over this summer, only Secker is going to become homegrown in nation. So with that in mind, I can't start to overhaul things too quickly. And I am a little bit conscious about losing an English core to our team. It sounds a bit boring and it's kind of more of a role-play thing for me. But for me personally, when I'm managing in a nation, I like to have a domestic player bias. I like to have players representing, you know, the nation that you play within. Of course, with our team right now, we've got Ricketts and Smith both at centre mid. Lind, who's another centre mid. I mean, all 3 of them have been involved in the England setup. So they certainly tick the bill and tick the boxes. Of course, Damani Grimes and Roberts are just great players in terms of backup players who we can rely on and can definitely put in good performances. You know, Damani Grimes at 25 years old, he's not actually improved that much since I took over the club. Of course, Forest signed him for 6.5 million the season that I took over halfway through. I think there's probably a reason that Manchester United moved him on, but ultimately as kind of a 3rd or 4th choice centre-back within this team, I think he's a really good player. Of course, he's a leader, he's well established in the team, and we saw it throughout this year. When we called upon him, he did a really good job at the back. But yeah, I feel like I'm pretty happy with the squad depth. We have a long-term goalkeeper. I guess the big question this year is, do I want to spend a little bit more money? And if I do, am I going to have to move on players to do it? Our transfer budget currently sits at £30 million, which is not a small amount by any means. But in terms of adding, you know, super high-quality Champions League players, it's not going to go all that far. If bids came in for players this year, would I weigh them up? Are there certain players that I might be willing to sell on? I'm now kind of thinking about the first team, and I feel like players like Regina and Piotr, I want to keep hold of. Of course, last summer I rejected a £60 million bid for Regina. Do I regret it? I don't think I do. He got 8 assists in the Premier League this year. If we just look at our club overview, trust it to change. He was considered our key player alongside Piotr. They're just 2 players who I feel like are pretty invaluable for us. Similarly, obviously, Amlo, no intention of moving him on. Erk and Seka kind of fall into a similar bracket, as do Ricketts and Smith. I realise that I'm just listing off all the first team players here and saying, here's all the players I don't want to sell, and it's just all the first team. But ultimately, for someone like Akamash, who's valued at £43 million and was a good little, alternative option this year, if a team like Lazio comes in with a bid of £60 million, am I going to stand in his way? Probably not. He's not making any international appearances for Spain. I don't think he's going to improve that much more. He's an injury-prone player who, if I'm being frank, if he gets one bad injury, that could be, the end of him. That could see his value cut by kind of 5-fold. He's the kind of player who we may struggle to sell on for more than 10 million if he gets a longer term injury. So I guess he's kind of the obvious player to maybe look at moving on. Someone like Samake, if the right offer came in, would I do it? I mean, he's valued at £41 million, and it would take a hefty offer, but if a team was willing to get, over the £50 million mark, I would seriously have to consider it. But how good Samake's been this year in the league, he's been a little bit of a disappointment for us on the whole. And, if I want to raise some funds, there's a core of players I don't want to sell, and players who are on the bench like Samake, like Akamash, they are on the fringes where they're not homegrown at club, they're not homegrown in nation, their value is relatively high. They're probably the players that would make the most sense to move on if it absolutely came to that. But in terms of looking ahead and my overall hopes and expectations for next year, Champions League's going to be tough. We're going to get in a difficult group because of the way the seedings work. Ultimately, if we could get out of our group in the Champions League, I'd be delighted with that. I think it's kind of unrealistic to mark the FA Cup and Carabao Cup every season as these trophies that we're going to win. I would like to mount a Premier League challenge, and I think it's possible under the right circumstances. But I think a lot of those circumstances are less about us performing and more about other teams not performing. We've got a good team, don't get me wrong. It's solid. It's a Champions League quality team in my opinion, but we are still quite a way away from the likes of Chelsea and Man City when it comes to overall quality and just the kind of money that we're able to spend. I mean, we have the 14th largest budget in the Premier League. Our salary per year is 70 million. Chelsea's salary per year is 270 million. They are spending almost 4 times more on their players than us. The fact that we can get as close as we can is pretty darn impressive. If we do want to take those extra steps forward and really start to challenge them, the conveyor belt of players has got to kind of kick in at some point soon. Obviously, I don't want to say we've hoarded youngsters, but we've signed a fair few youngsters, who I'm hoping are going to develop. There are a few here, though, that I look at and go, are they going to continue to develop like I hope they will? Are some of them reaching their potential? Players like Hoffman, who I agreed to sign from Dusseldorf 2 years ago for £7 million. Suddenly, he's now valued at 27 million. Might not improve too much more. Do I just look to sell him on for a little bit of money? I mean, that was kind of the mindset with some of these players. You can see Ham Sang-Goke, the Korean centre-back, actually a player who I'd quite like to give some opportunities to next year, if the circumstances could work out. But at 21 years old with questionable potential and a good year under his belt in League 1, if we could sell him on for a little bit of profit, would I do it? I probably would, because I think a lot of these players just aren't quite of the quality to break in the first team. Of the players that we do have who I'm most excited about, I think Callum Ferguson's probably top of the list, a player who I'd quite like to potentially promote to the first team next year. He was on loan in the Championship at Villa. 11 goals to his name in 24 appearances is no mean feat. He's also broken into the Scottish national team, aged only 19. And when you look at him, obviously he's a striker who can play centre attack in mid. Could he be the centre attack in mid option if we switch to the 4-2-3-1? Possibly. If we looked to sell on Samake, could he be the player who comes in to replace Samake as kind of the backup striker? I think he probably could. He's a really, really good player. And we have got good players coming up through our ranks, but there's a fair few of them that I just think are a season or two away from being ready. Another player who falls into, I think, a similar bracket is probably Mentese, the Turkish goalkeeper that we signed from Galatasaray a little while ago now. He's been on loan in Scotland this year and done really well on his loan spell. He looks like a good little centre-back, and not centre-back, a good little goalkeeper. Obviously, his performances in the Scottish Premier League haven't been that good, but it has seen him develop like absolute crazy. And I love the fact he's got such good handling, one-on-ones and reflexes. He's the kind of goalkeeper who just tends to do very well from my own experience in the match engine of Football Manager. But anyway, overall, a great season for us. Loads and loads of positives to be taken. You know, a few little players that I want to start bedding into the first team, a possible change in system. I think a lot of what we do comes down to, am I able to raise some extra funds by selling players who I deem not essential to the way that we play? Obviously, if we can move them on suddenly, the budget gets a little bit bigger and we start to look at much bigger transfers, but I'm not going to start planning for that or hoping for that, because suddenly you spot a player that you really want and then you're selling players that you probably shouldn't be selling to try and fund a transfer that, you know, is basically a spur-of-the-moment purchase for like one good player who looks really solid, who like, may or may not end up being particularly good. But anyway, guys, that's going to wrap up everything from me today. If you've got until the end of this video, I would like you to let me know what your favourite sandwich is. Just, you know, write a ham sandwich or, I mean, whatever sandwich you like having. It could be a chicken and stuffing sandwich, a cranberry sandwich. I don't know where I'm going. Basically, I just want to know if you've got to the end. And it proves to me that there are people who listen through all my rambling and who do find it vaguely interesting, which is always good to know. But anyway, folks, that's going to wrap up everything from me today. I might still apply for the Liverpool job. If anything comes of that, we will be back for that next time. And yeah, that's going to be all from me today. Thank you for watching. It is me, Jack, and I will talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.